Welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday Service. If you're joining us online or virtually later on this week, just know that we're glad you're here. My name is Vivian Morrison, and I'm the worship assistant today and also the chaplain for today. Our musicians are Cal and Danny, and our featured speaker is our own Sharon Myers. Okay, so let's take a moment and go within and just be still and feel the presence. Holy presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, and from infinite intelligence and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time, at this sacred time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and the one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us now. And we affirm, we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that that purpose is now being fulfilled. For we know you are immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And now, Danny and Cal.
We've got something bright to wake you up this morning. Happy Sunday. What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, you know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Hey, baby, when you get home, mister, I ain't gonna do you wrong when you're gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you get home. Hey, baby, when you get home, mister, I'm about to give you all my money. And guess what? I'm asking, honey. All I want you to do for me is give it to me when you get home. Give it to me when you get home. Ooh, your kisses sweeter than honey. And guess what? So is my money. All I want you to do for me is give it to me when you get home. Give it to me when you get home. Hey, baby, I need you to sing this song. You know it. Here we go. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Take care, T-C-B. Come on, just a little bit. Just a little bit. I get tired. I keep on trying. Nothing gonna do. I ain't lying. One more time. Here we go. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Take care, T-C-B. Yeah, yes.
You guys did it again. You're just awesome. You're just awesome. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and we honor the many paths to the one God. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey of faith, You are always welcome here. Our purpose at Unity on the North Shore is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and to live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday with us, we extend a loving welcome. Many of us were surprised to learn there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things we did. And for me, it felt like coming home. We hope your experience this morning is powerful and that you will return. And I invite everyone to stand now for our group song.
You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. You are blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. You are deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy is all that you are. You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love is all that you are.
Our daily words for today is world peace. And the scripture is from Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 16. Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and all ways. The Lord will be with you. The affirmation is affirming the divinity of all the world's people. I envision world peace. And let's just take a moment and envision world peace. Peace is meant for every person of every faith and every land. Today, I look beyond the news of the world, reports of strife and conflict, even the agitation and unforgiveness in my own heart, and find the peace of God. I believe that the desire for lasting peace is within each person's heart. In prayer, I affirm this truth and envision this desire growing stronger among the world's people until peace can no longer be denied. It is our shared destiny to live in peace when each person wants for all people what they want for themselves. We all want harmony. With the blanket of the truth on earth, I affirm the peace I wish for myself is dawning in the hearts of others. In prayer, I see them safe and secure, and all of the whole world and secure in the heart of God. And I affirm forever at peace. And now we have a solo.
Come a little bit closer, hear what I have to say. Just like children sleeping, we could dream this night away. But there's a full moon rising, let's go dancing in the light. We know where the music's playing, let's go out and feel the night. Because I'm still in love with you, I wanna see you dance again. Because I'm still in love with you on this harvest moon. When we were strangers, I watched you from afar. When we were lovers, I loved you with all my heart. But now it's getting late, and the moon is climbing high. I want to celebrate, see it shining in your eyes. Because I'm still in love with you, I want to see you dance again. Because I'm still in love with you on this harvest moon. If you know the chorus, we're going to do it one more time. Because I'm still in love with you, I want to see you dance again. Because I'm still in love with you on this harvest moon.
One moment, everybody. Ohayou gozaimasu, and that means good morning. Today, as you can see, we're going to be talking about living and learning in Kyoto and what that experience that I've had can teach all of us. Today marks the end of June, 30th of June. And I think back to 6 months ago at the end of December, where from that time you didn't see me for 3 months. And that's because I went back to school. And I might even say I went back to myself by living in Kyoto from January through March of this year. My program was in ceramic arts, but what I learned about myself and about this experience went far beyond that program in learning about ceramic arts. So I'm here to share that with you today by what I'm going to call 7 lessons of what I've learned, and I'll number them for you so you can kind of follow along. And I will open up to questions afterwards as well. And then I will do a meditation with you where I'll take us all through a Buddhist temple, my favorite Buddhist temple experience. So that's what we're going to really cover and learn from this morning. Number 1 of what I've learned. Life is change, flow like water. You'll see by this image that the dragon, which started off the new year when I just arrived in Kyoto, it's the year of the dragon, early January, is an image of strength. The dragon here, though, is also an image of water. This is a water basin that one uses to wash one's hands and on one's mouth before going into temple, right? The idea here is to flow like water, even in the year of the dragon. This temple is actually very close to my apartment. Many things in this program changed. My mentors, my sensei, which means master teachers, were old, many 80, 90 years old, and things didn't always go according to plan. They couldn't get out of the mountains to see us, we couldn't get there, and so my main sensei, or master, would say, when things aren't working out, flow like water, flow like water. The lesson here for all of us is when things change, and life is change, can we just flow like water? Can we not be stubborn, stuck in our ways? I've thought since this time, flow like water. I invite you to do the same. Number 2, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. It was Cal's song, very intentionally, by the way. Respect. I do think that Aretha had it right. Courtesy in Japan goes a long way. People bow in greeting. People bow in leaving to each other all the time, and not just elders, young people, right? They use the word arigato, thank you, all the time. I used arigato so many times that I would go to sleep thinking at night, arigato, arigato. And with respect. And that's another element that I think is really important for all of us to carry forward. In Japanese culture, people respect not only each other, they respect nature. They believe that every creature, every plant has spiritual energy, and so they respect every person, every plant, every tree, every animal. I ask us all, what would it be like to be respectful to each other and to every living creature, every plant, every tree? What would that be like, to be mindful of that kind of respect? I try to carry that forward as well. Number 3, be curious. My studio days were very long in this program. I would leave my apartment in the dark, and I would often come back in the dark. And it was uncomfortable. I was usually very cold. It was winter, and then it was plum blossom season, and then it was sakura, cherry blossom season. But during the winter, which was most of this time, it snowed, and it hailed, and it rained. And on my days off, sometimes I just wanted to curl up and be comfortable in my own tiny little apartment. And yet I didn't, because there was so much to explore. I purposely didn't put GPS on my phone or location in my phone. I got lost all the time because I wanted to be mindful of living in Kyoto. And so I explored, and I learned to see and find new temples and shops and people to speak with and connect with. And that curiosity, I think, is something that we can all carry forward, because in being curious, we carry the wonderment of the world. And there is a lot to be wondering about and to feel wonderment of what we explore. Even if we're not halfway around the world, even if we're just here, it's the same idea. I invite you to just have curiosity, to be interested versus interesting. And that's something I've been taught by being in Unity for quite some time. Be interested versus interesting. Number 4, I have enough. I lived in a very small apartment of 300 square feet with a very tiny kitchen. Those of you who are listening in today who've been in Garden Chat have seen how tiny that kitchen is, as I made Japanese food every week for everyone for 12 weeks online. I had a bed, yes. I had a bistro table and 2 chairs and no other furniture, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't even have a closet. I had a box with a pole on 2 casters, and that's where I put my clothes. What clothes did I bring, you might ask? I brought 3 sweaters, 3 shirts, 3 pairs of pants, 3 skirts, and 3 jackets. And that was it. Oh, and this. A photograph of myself and my husband and 2 of our grandchildren on our anniversary. So that was fun. And that was all. And I lived for nothing that I really needed beyond that. I even sold my clothes, those 15 items that I brought, and I exchanged them for other things as an exercise in flow like water. Could I just go with that flow? Get rid of what I no longer was using or needed and got other things in that exchange with the confidence that that would just work. In other words, I have enough. And I invite you to consider, what do you have that's enough? What do you value most? What things do you have? What people are in your life that you value? And we all know what tops that list, and it's not another pair of shoes. It is love. And I had more than enough love in this journey to carry me forward so that I thought I would have enough every day. My family, my friends encouraged me to apply for this program, to create a portfolio, which I really didn't have, and put together, to go through interviews. It was a very tough, long process, it seemed, to get into this program. And it was a very rarefied opportunity to go through that process and just go with that flow of it. There were 3 interviews. They were each 1 hour long. And to go with trust that everything was going to be just fine, basically, that I would have enough, that this would all work out. There were just 5 people in this program. A woman from Syria was chosen, a woman from Barcelona, a man from Singapore, a man from Okinawa, and me from America. And so with that group, we learned that we had enough within each other. And just to go with that flow of each other's work. All of our art was different. Our experiences were different. Our culture was different. Our original language was different. I'm the only one with the first language as English in this group. So that in itself was interesting, but we all had enough, all right? So I invite you also to think of what you have that is enough. 5, being versus doing. During COVID, Ann Baker ran a course with Reverend Kurt online where she said, in teaching us how to de-stress, that at our best, we are human beings versus human doings. And I thought of that so often when I was in this program. Because as much as I was producing, making items out of clay, I realized the doing of the clay was really not the main idea. It was who I was being and working with the clay, who I was being and working with other people that I previously didn't know anything about. I didn't even know who they were until I got there and started the program. None of us did. So think about that. You're going for 3 months with people you don't know, in a country you don't know, living in an apartment you don't know, learning under people that you don't know. Who are you being? This was a really great opportunity for me just to be perhaps a different kind of person. And as I will say later this morning, I'm hoping a kinder, gentler version of myself in being that way. This image right here that you see on the screen is of a lady who lives in Miyama. That was 2 buses away and a hike to find her. She taught me indigo on my day off, and that means dyeing fabric with indigo from a plant, which makes it all dark blue. This is a honored skill and tradition in that part of Japan. And you'll see that I'm not photographing her because many elders don't like to be photographed in Japan. They feel that that takes something away from them. So the best I could do is this image for you. But why this image? Why this experience in being? Because by being patient, she taught us to be, I was alone, to be patient. By being focused on her art, she taught me that way. By being beautiful in her just presence of creating with me this art that she was trusting me to learn, she taught me beauty, beauty and simplicity. Can we be the being versus the doing in who we are? I invite you to think about that. Who are you being with other people? Who are you being within yourself? Being versus doing. I think as we are Western people, many of us who are listening here, we think of a life of doing. And that is really not the essence of what my experience in Japan was. I really try to carry that forward in my life now. Get spirited away, number 6. If any of you have been reading the newsletters that I posted online while I was in Japan through Jasmine's kindness, you'll remember that one of the topics in that newsletter series was called Get Spirited Away. There are 1,600 temples in Kyoto. There are about 600 shrines, Shinto shrines. There's a lot to explore. You might think, temples, shrines, what's that all about? Shinto shrines are about animist belief. Everyone in Japan is a Shinto person because that's the state religion. And as I mentioned before, in Shintoism, one believes in the animist or the spiritual energy in all creatures and in all things, hence the respect. Most everyone in Japan is also Buddhist, and they do not pray towards the Buddha, and we're going to be doing that in meditation as well. They pray to live like the Buddha, and that's a huge distinction in honoring the Buddha's teachings. And in a flow like water kind of concept, Japanese don't find that this is a conflict of interest between the animist belief in spirit and the practical belief in how through Buddhism they would like to live. And so that flow like water carries in the getting spirited away. There was a shrine from the year about 559 around the corner from me. I went there quite often. My favorite Buddhist temple was only about a 10-minute walk away, and that is the Buddhist temple that we're going to do meditation within, kind of environmentally, today. Ruth in our membership asked me to explain a little bit what is it like to be in a Buddhist example, in a Buddhist environment. My favorite Buddhist temple was actually a monastery as well. So to be enveloped in a monastery and see these monks in my neighborhood walking to and from the temple, in the temple, was an experience that I realized in preparing for this today, I had more than 50 times in the 100 days that I was there, because I was there in that temple nearly every day, and mostly alone, just in this kind of environment. I tell you this because it kind of seeps into your skin. Anything that you do over and over again becomes your habit. For me, it became kind of an exercise and a habit of quietude. Monks always being quiet, always praying in quiet, walking through the temple gardens in quiet. And maybe some of you remember there was a newsletter called Quietude, which is not a word we use very often. I give you that in kind of reflection. Quietude. Can we live our lives a little bit more in quietude? It got to the point where, because I was in this temple so often, I started to recognize the monks, and they recognized me, and they would bow to me, and I would bow to them, all right? In recognition of, who is this woman here again? Who is this monk here again? Spirited away, all right? And lastly, number 7. An attitude of gratitude. I live nearly every day in the trust that being in this program was for a reason. I was selected in this very small, kind of rarefied environment and program for a reason. And I carried that trust forward with that attitude of gratitude. with that attitude of thanks. I would like to think, as I mentioned earlier, that this experience has made me a kinder, more gentler person, and that I can carry that forward, right? And I do really think of that intentionally, every day. In closing, in this kind of experience, I want to leave you with a quote, not my own, but from Liz Gilbert, right? Some of you are familiar with her book and then movie called Eat, Pray, Love. And this one quote just really created a lot of the intentionality for this presentation to you this morning. And here it is. In the end, I have come to believe something that I call the physics of the quest. A force of nature grounded by laws that are as strong and as real as the law of gravity, end quote. So this idea of the quest of the energy, I think is what carried me through this program. It's what intended through this exploration this morning, what you are listening to right now, and that was the music. The music of Cal and Danny is actually from the soundtrack of the movie, Eat, Pray, Love. So we selected that together. The number 7 is actually a sacred number in Japanese culture. And oddly enough, that's what evolved in the 7 topics, right? Yesterday, I was immersed in the sweat lodge experience from our Native American presentation of last week. And interestingly enough, in Lakota tradition, 7 is also a sacred number. How interesting is that from different parts of this globe, right? I'd like to open this up for questions in just a moment, but I'd also like to thank you just for your attention in listening to something that perhaps is a bit different from what we often do mention in Unity every week. This experience was a gift. I am not thinking that you need to go to Italy to eat, to India to pray, and to Bali, Indonesia to love, as in Eat, Pray, Love. Although I will tell you, sometimes that is just the ticket, and for me it was. When I first applied to this program or was thinking about it, my daughter Sarah, some of you know her, she grew up in this church, said, "Mom, this is your time to shine. You just go for it. You just try." I talked to my husband about it. I said, I'm going to be gone for 3 months. And we've not been married that long, just about 9 years now. And he said, it is a long time, so I'll just have to come and visit you, which he did, right? So what you intend can come around full circle to bless everyone, right? And others bless you with their intent. And so I leave you with just the thought of what you want to do in your own beautiful lives. What is your grand plan? Or what kind of falls into your lap, and then you go with it, and you place effort into it. And then that happens with an attitude of gratitude. Thank you for your time. We do have meditation in a moment, but I mentioned that I left some time for questions, and Dr. David, you have the first. Yes, sir.
First, I want to say thanks. That was so inspirational and just beautiful. And I think fits so beautifully with unity principles. It really is wonderful. My question is, how did the changes in you get reflected in your art? Did your art change through this?
The materials changed my art. I started to make matcha bowls, which are basically tea ceremony bowls. Tea ceremony bowls are about this big. They're made by hand. They're made of all different kinds of clay outside of Kyoto and within Kyoto. We have to remember that Kyoto was the imperial capital of Japan for more than 1,000 years. So what do you think of when you think of Kyoto? You think of tea ceremony. It evolved during that time. You think of kimono, which people still wear in Japan. And I think for many of us, we think, oh, these are old women. They're also elder men. They're also teenagers who go on dates in kimono. And they wear them on the weekends, and they take pictures of each other. So we have all of that, right? So tea ceremony bowls are actually sacred objects. And sorry for some of this, I am over 60 now. You have to be 60 years old plus to make them. Not everyone in my program was. So to answer your question, David, There are different clays from different parts of Kimono Mountain, or the Kyoto Mountains. Kyoto is in a bowl surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, and the clay is different in those elements, so I made bowls of that. One of my newsletters talked about the patina of time in Kyoto kind of culture, and that people there don't like things shiny so much. So I got away from making glazes that were shiny to more matte glazes and more earthenware colors. I'm not doing wasabi green anymore. I'm doing more like matte black and iron oxide and blue stone, which comes out matte. So it has changed. And the woman from Barcelona, her work is quite different from mine. But to follow up on your question, she and I are going to do a show together with this in mind, and we're calling it Flowing Like Water in Barcelona in September. So I'm gearing up for that. And so my work will be more sakura blossom created, and hers will more be like trees and leaf type of patterns. And we're just going to do a 3-day show and see how that goes. So all kinds of creative things can come out of it. But yes, Bryce.
Yeah, I studied abroad in Japan and I worked for the government services.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, sorry. I studied abroad in Japan and I lived there for 3 years, so I'm just so fascinated by your experience. And what did you think about the group mentality versus individual? That was one of my favorite things, that like in America it's so individualistic, and there it's more based on the group. So with your group of the people, 6 people, how was that? You didn't talk too much about that. How was your group experience with those artists going out, or did you have a lot of that bonding?
It's a good question that I had to learn step by step. So first of all, the young woman from Syria is in her 30s. She's 33, and I'd say from all of us, she had the most talent innately. She already had solo shows in Paris and Toronto, so this was a girl on fire. She was also kind of a rebel. She's a girl from Aleppo, Syria. She's a Muslim young woman who doesn't cover, who applied for this program in Japan. So already she's very individual. The gentleman from Singapore, I have a really soft place in my heart for Singapore. I worked there for 15 years. My daughter was born there, like all of that. And he was a collector as much as anything, as well as a ceramic artist. And he was always the glass half empty, so I learned to work that way. Anna from Barcelona was always the glass half full girl. She's in her 50s, and she is also a medical physician. So she's a healer as well as a ceramic artist. And Terry is a gentleman from Okinawa, and so he saw things from the Buddhist perspective and kind of influenced Anna and I, especially towards the end of this program. We all really enjoyed this program. Anna and I were starting to grieve the end, and he said, that's such a Western concept. So he really informed us and educated us that in Buddhism, we think of the precious present, and you know this, right? We don't grieve over the past or we're going to lose something, which means we're losing the precious present. Stay in that moment, stay in the present. So we all learn from each other. But you also talked about a group mentality, and absolutely correct in your experience and mine. So for example, in Kyoto, briefly, there was an election. And it was interesting to be an outsider and then an insider for the mayoral election, because people would talk about it, but very respectfully, very quietly. This idea of bowing in respect for giving, me walking into a shop and buying something, bowing to say hello, bowing and saying, thank you for the business, thank you for the business, is always this kind of group mentality. How many times do you walk across the street and it's not quite the green light, but you go anyway? That is not a Kyoto thing. People wait. And they might be on their cell phones or whatever, but they wait for the light and the little man to show up to walk across the street. Group respect. It's always that way. I'll give you one more example. You went to the bus in Kyoto, and sometimes I took the bus, and every time a person walks in, a gentleman who's the bus driver says, "Arigatou gozaimasu," thank you. In other words, thank you for taking the bus. You pay on the way out. To every person, he says, "Arigatou gozaimashita," which means the end of the transaction, thank you. When they change buses, the gentleman, they're all men, who drives the bus, bows and thanks everyone in Japanese, Chinese, and English, thank you for taking the bus. The new bus driver comes on, bows to everyone, and says, in English, in Chinese, and Japanese, thank you for taking the bus. group mentality. I got to actually like that.
Yeah.
We each did, to answer your question, because it's just such mutual respect versus I am better than you, I know more better than you. I want you to think that the eldest person in this program was 102, my most elder sensei. Most of them were 80s and 90s. And to have that trust of them, and I've talked to some of you about this, and to have their trust in me was quite an astounding thing. Why should a Japanese man who's been doing his work for 70 or 80 years old give his experience as an expertise to a white woman who doesn't know his language and is not from his culture? Why? It was this trust built up from someone else who convinced that man to give his skills to me, that now I'm entrusted to give to someone else. So we all felt, in the 5 of us, that group trust, and we all carried it forward. So yeah, the days were long and we were cold and we were tired. Nobody acted out. Nobody ever acted up. We were all really patient. And that was interesting, just to always be patient. We're always not here, so yes.
I can't wait to compare more notes with you some other time, yeah.
So. All right. Anybody else have a question?
No, hold on, because they can't hear you online unless you use this.
Okay, Olga, what's your question?
So you're back.
I'm back.
You're back in your home in Evanston. Can you tell us how your everyday life is changing in your home? Like, for example, are you looking around and saying, I have enough, and thinking about decluttering, or just you have some rituals that you have taken back and that you are incorporating on your everyday life? In your everyday life?
It's a very full question. So firstly, I wake up every morning and I am thankful. And I did that before I went to Japan. I drink tea more than coffee. I came back to a 2,000 square foot apartment filled with boxes because my husband took the idea of me living in a small apartment and he cleared out his own storage from before we were married. And most of those boxes ended up in our apartment. So I looked around thinking, I've been living in nothing and now I'm surrounded by boxes. And I said, honey, we have too much stuff, all right? So yes, it really did change my eye to what do we really need? And to follow up from that, Olga, I asked my husband to see what I was seeing in Kyoto, and he had worked for a Japanese company. We're going to go back. So we're thinking of living there in 2025 for 3 to 6 months because he could lecture. I have chosen one sensei from my program to teach me only. And there is a woman in a cafe who would like me to do a small show. I'm going to be a happy enough camper and live in a slightly larger apartment with 2 people. But yes, so that's something that's really changed. Moving forward, how do I really want to create my life? I think something like this gives me a confidence to do that. If I could live that small, that easy, that simply, that tightly, and be happy, I could do something else. And I ask you to think in your own lives how that works, right? So those are some of the things that I've changed. I've engaged my family in this idea. My son, he was in one of those pictures, that man overlooking the mountains. He came to celebrate his 27th anniversary. Or 27th birthday. He wants to bring his fiancée now there next year when we move there. So it kind of enlarges with my family. My daughter Sarah wants to come with her husband and her kids to visit while we're living there. Yahoo. So all of that has enlarged, right? Terry.
Well, I think you answered one of my questions. Are you going back to Japan or what?
Yes, indeed. That's the idea.
You know, I read this thoroughly and it's fascinating and so thoroughly rich with details about.
You're talking about the newsletter, sir?
Yeah, the 12 newsletters. And, you know, I agree. It's, you know, it reflects my beliefs that I believe incorporate unity principles. Is there a next step for this publication? I mean, I put them in a binder. That's just, but can you, is it because the photos, you know, if enlarged, would be really beautiful to see at this scale. They're a little
Thank
hard
you. So Terry gave me a bound copy of this, you know, this morning as I walked in, which was just a lovely gift. I do have a publisher, and so I'm going to publish the 12 newsletters, which we're not calling newsletters anymore. My husband said, Sharon, call them essays. So the 12 essays will be in a book, kind of like a fold-out fan, and on the other side are the 12 recipes that I created for Garden Chat. So it's in layout now, and I'm hoping to finish it early in fall, so it'll be ready for holiday giving, so that's another thing. So yes, and make the pictures bigger, because the pictures were just for the online newsletter. So how about one more question? Thank you,
So
Terry.
we have one from online that I'd like to read to you.
Yes.
But before that, I just want to say that Sharon was kind enough to share those essays with us through our blog. So if you go to unityns.org and go to the blog page, you'll be able to just scroll back a little bit, because they're from couple months ago at this
And there's
point,
one each
but
week. It's a page of each. They're
you'll
not
be
particularly
able
long to read.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see the images larger. So our picture from online, or our question from online is asking, I think it's about the slide we have up right now, those vases. Did you make those?
Yeah, that's a
vases?
collaboration. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So again, Dave, that's part of the answer. Very different kind of coloration from before, different things that I was doing. And that shadow is actually from a lamp overhead through the window, and I just kind of created that little everything. So yes, let's take some time for meditation, if that's all right. Okay. You may remember that I mentioned I was going to take you on a journey, so I would like to ask you to close your eyes, and you can do this online as well as we prepare for meditation. Let's just get comfortable, please. And I'm taking a journey with you into Kyoto, into the history of spirit, into a special place, which is my favorite temple. Get grounded. I'd like you to consider that temples are sacred spaces, hence there are no photography types of things allowed. But before you actually enter the temple, take a dipper of water from the water basin and just pour that water over your right hand and then your left hand, and then just slowly into your mouth, and let that just kind of dribble down. Walk towards the temple now, slowly and gently. Go up the steps and take off your shoes. Place them next to you. And now walk into the temple itself. Face towards the Buddha, hands on your thighs, and bow gently downward. Now stand upright and kneel. Kneel onto the tatami mat, and then bow again, this time with your forehead on the mat. Smell the mat of woven grass. Inhale it in. This is the special smell of tatami mat. It is like nothing else. It's soft yet strong. It's inviting to the touch with its woven texture. Now look up to gaze at the Buddha. The Buddha is also seated above you, with the gaze looking down at you. The Buddha is carved of wood, about 15 feet high, painted with gold at the edges of his folded garments and his hair. His hands are folded in a mudra position of calm. Hands are on his lap, fingertips touching. Using our sense of vision, peer upward and gaze at the Buddha gazing at you. Here we pray for a life like the Buddha, of honesty, of compassion, of trust, and overall of love. And then we hear the repetitive sound of the gong, low and slow being struck. Wood against metal by a young monk. He is dressed in saffron. His head is shaved. He is also sitting serenely, gently sounding that gong. Sit here and take it all in. The sight of the Buddha, the smell of the tatami mat, the feeling of your skin against that tatami mat, the sound of the gong. Your hands are in the same position as the Buddha, fingers touching, hands lightly resting on your lap. Sit here, in this space, in this time, and inhale all of it. Exhale all of that. Inhale again, and breathe it all out. Breathe in this lovely, quiet, beautiful experience. And breathe out. And now gently open your eyes. And smile in gratitude for the experience. Thank you very much. Arigato.
Thank you, Sharon. That was wonderful. Okay. Now it's time for our love offering. And we share our love. We are here to share in 3 simple ways, and the details are on the screen. You can text, you can use the donate button on our website, or you can send a check through the mail. And it's all on the screen. Now, for those of you here in the room today, there's a bowl in the back of the room, so place your cash or checks there near the door as you leave. And no matter how you give, what's most important is why you give. So here are 3 reasons why giving is important for your spiritual growth and well-being. Number 1, it opens new channels of supply. It reminds us that God is the source of all good. It raises consciousness as nothing else does. So now let's bless our giving and receiving. And if you're not actually giving at this exact moment, I invite you to set your intention to give. As we speak aloud our blessing with joy and gratitude, we affirm divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And please stand as we sing our offertory song.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Be seated. And we have a few short announcements. And the first is to thank the team, the live stream team, Terry, Carl, and Paul. You guys do a wonderful job every Sunday. And thank you, musicians, Cal, and Danny. And of course, thank you, Sharon, for sharing such inspirational and informative lesson for us. Okay, the first announcement, Soul Flicks Reverend Kurt has some space still for Soul Flicks, and it's not too late to join. It's a weekly meeting with Reverend Kurt. You watch a short movie, film, and you discuss the spiritual message. It's free, but you need to register. We have a concert coming up with Sean Johnson and his Wild Lotus Band. They're coming back. It's called The Mystical Magic, and it's an incredible experience. And you register for this, and you have to go online. You register at Heaven Meets Earth Yoga Studio, but it will be held upstairs in our beautiful sanctuary. Fellowship days. Mark your calendar. Again, this will be online. July 7th, celebrate the spirit groups, cake and conversation after the service. July 14th, Sanctuary Sunday. Now, this is very important. People online and people here present, after the service, we're going to have a volunteer fair. You may have been wondering, what can I do? How can I serve here at Unity on the North Shore? The group leaders will be present. If you have any questions, if you want to be an usher, greeter, chaplain, whatever service you think you could be. And you can create a service if you like. Okay, and Sharon has, she's done a lot of service options here at Unity on the North Shore. And let's see, that's about it. I will be available at the back of the room to answer and talk with you if you have any prayer concerns. And let's stand and sing our peace song. And now a prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us.
The love of God holds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God which is over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine.
Have a great week.